They did, man. They didn't turn them in. How old are you? Man, you don't need no glasses, man. Come on down here, man. You don't need no glasses. What are you gonna do? Preach something brand new? Doing just fine. How about you? That's good. That's wonderful.
Of course, at the end of that class, there was always an evaluation, grading period.
Yesterday.
I received some bad remarks by some of the individuals who were in the class. What I'm saying to you tonight is that still some, still not convinced. God has called, God has ordained, God has anointed women in the ministry. They use that scripture in First Timothy, where they say that Sister Beth keep silent in church. Pastor Jonah ought not say a word in the church. That's one of the main scriptures that they use. So before I go too much further, I want to put a different, and I have to be careful I do it in company of the dean. I don't want him to put me out of Providence. I've got one more night. And so I'm going to deal with it just briefly. Then I'm going to work on deacons. It's that scripture in 1 Timothy where we need to understand what Paul was attempting to do. He's writing to his young son, Timothy, young pastor. And apparently, Timothy having some problems in his young church. So this apostle Paul is giving Timothy some instructions on how he feels is the best way to deal with this situation. It's 1 Timothy. I'm going to begin in verse 8, and I'll read it. Paul says to Timothy, I will therefore that men, plural, pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and without doubt. Verse 9, in like manner also, though women, plural, adore themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair, or gold, pearls, or costly array, but which becometh women, plural, professing godliness and good work. Plural. He's talking to the church in general as he addresses what's going on in this Ephesian church. But then Paul shifts in verse number 11. Paul says, let the woman learn in silence with all submission. Verse 12, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. We all interpret scripture. We all have our views. What it appears to me is that there were some men in church who were creating a disturbance in the prayer service. They were causing confusion in the prayer service. Paul tells Timothy that men ought to always pray. Apparently, there may have been some men who are having trouble with the prayer service. Men ought to always pray. When they were praying, they should be lifting up holy hands without wrath and without doubt. He says to men, all this is problems. Men, you pray. Keep on praying, lifting up holy hands without wrath. And then apparently there were some sisters in there who were putting on a show. There were some sisters in there who were not dressing according to what Timothy and Paul thought they should be. So he recommended that they would tone it down and not be too out of order. Then he comes and says, let the woman, learn in silence, as if that there may have been one woman who was creating some mess in that Ephesian church. Timothy didn't know how to handle it. Paul says, let her keep quiet until she learns some secrets. Let's go. My take on it. You don't even have to kind of accept that. I would also warn to be careful how we take one scripture and let it dictate what the entire Bible would say. And then finally, remember what Peter said about the Apostle Paul. I'll let somebody else read that. I don't want you to think I made it up. Turn to 2 Peter 3 and 16, and somebody read what Peter had to say about the Apostle Paul. Who has it? Yeah, 3:16. I think it's 2 Peter 3 and 16. Yes, sir. We can hear you. I hope that's the text I'm looking for.
Speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction.
Thank you so much. So Peter said, saints, Paul is very difficult to even